Welcome to The Tangent, the show where I rant to you about things that I have learned. All right, we've all heard of Sun Tzu, or if we haven't, we've all at least heard about his thoughts on war. But how does that connect to high school? No one's ever asked this question before, but I'm going to. Because I'm going to connect every single lesson in Sun Tzu's The Art of War to high school life. Starting off with Chapter 1, laying plans. Now, I assume in my extended metaphor that this is just going to be preparing for a test. For example, the art of war, which is governed by the 5 constant factors, can be taken into account in one's deliberation when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. I'm taking this to mean when you're going to take the test, you should probably study. There are 5 constant factors: the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline. The moral law causes people to be in complete accord with their ruler, so that they will follow him regardless of their lives, undismayed by any danger. Now, I take this to mean when your teacher tells you to do the study guide, listen. Please do your study guides, they're good. Heaven signifies night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons. Again, this is when your teacher tells you when the test is happening so that you can get the study guide done by then and you don't walk into class completely unprepared. Earth comprises distances, great and small, danger and security, open ground and narrow passes, the chances of life and death. This is what will be on the actual test. If your teacher gives this to you at any point in time, listen to them. The commander stands for virtues of wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness. Again, this is your teacher telling you not to ignore them and do the study guide so that you can do good in war. I mean, taking tests. By method and discipline are to be understood the marshalling of any army and its proper subdivisions, the graduations of rank among the officers, the maintenance of roads by which supplies may reach the army, and the control of military expenditure. This is how much time you actually spend studying. It should be a proper amount. You don't want to just keep doing the same things that you already know, mix it up. All warfare is based off deception. Now, this only applies to physics classes, because physics teachers will trick you. Hold out baits and to entice the enemy. Feign disorder and then crush him. So maybe in class, what I think Sun Tzu is trying to tell you to do is make it seem like you don't know how to do a certain kind of problem and then actually know how to do that problem so that the teacher will put it on, I don't know. Well, maybe they'll put it on the test. That's my best guess here. That one's probably not good. Moving on to 1.25, these military devices leading to victory must not be divulged. Again, you should listen to all of these except for the physics teacher one to truly win a war and also to take a test. Because again, this book is entirely based on how to win a war in ancient China. Why am I doing this? Why have I never said this out loud? I forgot to mention 1.17. According as circumstances are favorable, one should modify one's plans. Essentially, if anything changes about the test at all, know about it beforehand so that you can be ready when the tests come. Moving on to section 2, waging war. In our case, this would still be taking the test that you have prepared for by laying out your plans, which again, see section 1. When you engage in actual fighting, if the victory is long in coming, then men's weapons will grow dull and their ardor will be dampened. If you lay siege to a town, you will exhaust your strength. Now this just means do all the easy problems fast and first. So if you're ever struggling on a problem and you know that you might not have time for it in a test, skip it and move back on to the easy questions. Now, when your weapons are dulled, your ardor dampened, your strength exhausted, and your treasure spent, other chieftains will spring up to take the advantage of your extremity. Then no man, however wise, will be able to avert the consequences that must ensue. So essentially, whenever you're tired in a test, you might have the little urge to look over a little bit at your friend over there who might know that question. Now, when you do that, that's bad because Sun Tzu says that you'll face consequences for it. So maybe don't look at someone else's test. Thus, though we have heard of stupid haste in war, cleverness has never been seen associated with long delays. This means that if you don't make stupid mistakes. I'm looking at math tests here for this one, right? Like if you're in pre-calc or whatever, and you do addition wrong sometimes. We've all been there before. The official Sun Tzu strategy is just don't. It is the only one who is thoroughly acquainted with the evils of war that can thoroughly understand the profitable way of carrying it on. This is someone who took the class last year and it flunked it and now is retaking it. That look to them to see how hard the tests are. So, ask around, maybe someone flunked out. Maybe you got lucky. Bring war material with you home, but forage on the enemy. Now, this is essentially if you have like a first period test and your buddy in fourth period forgot to study, Sun Tzu says that you should give him your notes. This loss of substance and exhaustion of strength, the homes of the people will be stripped bare, and 3/10 of their income will be dissipated, while the government expenses for broken chariots, worn out horses, breastplates and helmets, bows and arrows, spears and shields, protective mantlets, drought oxen, and heavy wagons will amount to 4/10 of the total revenue. So basically, bring a lot of pencils and pens to your tests because you might lose them. This is especially important for the AP tests, because those are longer, so your pencils may run out. This is called using the conquered foe to augment one's own strength. This is essentially just telling you to not cheat on a test. Again, Sun Tzu is very angry about that. He does not want you looking off anybody else and mooching off of their success. In war, let your great object be victory, not lengthy campaigns. Again, you want to win the test. He's really repetitive. Attack by stratagem. Again, this one is all about coming up with a plan before the actual test happens. Thus, the highest form of generalship is to block the enemy's plans, the next best is to prevent the junction of the enemy's forces, and then the next in order is to attack the enemy's army in the field. I don't know, man. This one doesn't really mean anything. Honestly, this entire section doesn't really mean anything. We already kind of went over it. 3.9 says, if equally matched, we can offer battle. If slightly inferior in numbers, we can avoid the enemy. If quite unequal in every way, we can flee. Now, I don't know the difference between avoiding and fleeing, but it seems like if you don't know the question on the test, just don't do it, which is a bad choice. But Sun Tzu recommends it, so who am I to say? Actually, this one's pretty important too. 3.17 says, thus we must know that there are 5 essentials for victory. 1, he will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. 2, he will win who knows how to handle both superior and inferior forces. 3, he will win whose army is animated by the same spirit throughout all of its ranks. 4, he will win who prepared himself, waits to take the enemy unprepared. And 5, he will win who has military capacity and is not interfered with the sovereign. Essentially, if you're smart and the teacher doesn't kick you out of the class because you're cheating on a test, then you're good. Yeah, that one just... Up next is section 4, tactical dispositions. This one is also about taking the actual test itself. Again, a lot of those. Sun Tzu is very repetitive in his advice. One may know how to conquer without being able to do it. This is referring to practice problems before you do the test. So, run through a few of those, also known as the study guide. Standing on the defensive indicates insufficient strength. Attacking, a superabundance of strength. So I guess don't do anything? Neither is the acme of excellence if you fight and conquer and the whole empire says, well done. Basically, if you get a good grade on a test, there's probably going to be some people that says, well done, but not everybody's... Don't flaunt your grades, guys. 4.13, he wins his battles by making no mistakes. Yeah, I mean, that, just don't screw up. That's pretty simple. 4.14, the skillful fighter puts himself into a position that makes defeat impossible and does not miss the moment for defeating the enemy. So again, the enemy in this case is tests, and putting yourself in that position is having the study guide. Yeah, there's a lot of study guides. I swear, we're moving on to some other stuff soon. 4.16, the consummate leader cultivates the moral law and strictly adheres to method and discipline. Remember it from the first one. Thus, it is in his power to control success. So essentially, it's your teacher, right? What methods are they giving you? Even if you don't know about them, ask them for help. Go to TI maybe. Yeah, that's what that one's about. Sun Tzu likes TI. Yeah, so essentially, subsection 4 is exactly the same as subsection 1, just prepare before the test. Number 5 is energy. Now, this one is actually not about prepping, it's actually about energy drinks. I'm actually saying this, it's about motivation and Monster. The control of a large force is the same principle as the control of a few men. It is merely dividing up the numbers. So it's essentially just, what are you drinking before your test? Is it Monster Energy? And if so, why is it Monster Energy? 5.5. In all fighting, the direct method may be used for joining battle, but indirect methods are needed in order to secure victory. Again, this is how you get your energy. To be awake when you take your test, but that should be natural. So if you're drinking coffee, like lots and lots of coffee, that's bad. That's going to get you real jumpy and nervous. There are not more than 5 musical notes, yet the combinations of these 5 give rise to more melodies than can ever be heard. I don't fully understand what that one means, but it feels like it's a reference to orchestra. So, you know, there are not more than 5. What is it with the 5? Also, there are more than 5 musical notes. There's like 8 of them. There are not more than 5 primary. Yeah, there's 3 primary colors. Yet the combination can produce more hues than can ever be seen. Like if an art, do art classes have tests? A good fighter will be terrible in his onset and prompt in his decision. Okay, so basically be a fast decision maker. Stimulated disorder postulates perfect discipline. Stimulated fear postulates courage. And stimulated weakness postulates strength. So essentially, make yourself, when preparing for this test, be the opposite of what you actually feel. I don't know what he meant by that one really either. Thus, the energy developed by good fighting men is as a momentum of a round stone rolled down a mountain thousands of feet in height. So is the subject of energy. Essentially, as long as you start that ball rolling, in this case, like your day, as long as you start that rolling in a high place, you're going to be moving through by the time the test comes. Number 6, the weak points and the strong. Sun Tzu said, whoever is first in the field awaits the coming of the enemy and will be fresh for the fight. Whoever is second in the field has to hasten and the battle will soon arrive exhausted. Again, arrive early to your classes so that if you have any questions, your teachers can answer them. An army may march great distances without distress if it marches through country where the enemy is not. So essentially, you can go farther if you just avoid it. Nope, that seems wrong. If we do not wish to fight, we can prevent the enemy from engaging us even through the lines of our own encampment to be merely traced off the ground. All we need to do is throw something odd and unaccountable in his way. So this one applies to, I think, driving into school. You know, if you're driving into the school in the parking lot and there's suddenly a rock there that you don't want to hit, just avoid it. If we are able to attack an inferior force with a superior one, our opponents will be in dire straits. Hey, like the movie. But essentially, just go prepared. Why does he keep saying this? The way to avoid what is strong is to strike at what is weak. Again, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's just be prepared for your test. Stop talking about the test. 7. Maneuvering. This is when it starts getting interesting. Sun Tzu said, in war, the general receives his commands from the sovereign. So this one is going to be an even more extended metaphor. You know the cops that come in when we're leaving the school from the car lot? Those are the sovereign in that case, so you receive all your directions from them. Maneuvering with an army is advantageous when in an undisciplined multitude, most dangerous. So essentially, if you're going to drive someone to school, juniors and seniors, make sure that you're sane and your friends are not going to distract you. The stronger men will be out in front, the jaded ones will fall behind, and on this plan is only 1/10 of your army will reach its destination. This one's talking about graduation. Plan for only 1/10. Okay, so it's maybe a little bit more than that. 6.11, we may take it then that an army without its baggage train is lost, without its provisions it is lost, without its basis of supplies. Bring your backpacks to school. We are not fit to lead an army on the march unless we are familiar with the face of its country, its mountains, its forests, its pitfalls, its precipices, its marshes, its swamps. That's getting around the school. In war, practice dissimulation, you will succeed. Move only if there is real advantage to be gained. Go fast in the hallways unless you don't have to move classes. Take the fastest route. Ponder and deliberate before you make a move. Before you go anywhere in the hall, plan it out, man. That's pretty simple. Don't just wander in the hallways. You won't get anywhere that way. The book of 7.23, the book of army management says, on the field of battle, the spoken word does not carry far enough, hence the institution of gongs and drums, nor can the ordinary objects be seen clearly enough. Hence the institution of banners and flags. Clearly the music that plays when we have 2 minutes left and we're walking to our classes. Because gongs and drums, they let us know that we have 2 minutes left to get to our places. Yeah. 7.27, a whole army may be robbed of its spirit, but a commander-in-chief may be robbed of his presence of mind. Going on, 7.29, a clever general, therefore, avoids an army when its spirit is keen, but attacks it when it is sluggish and inclined to return. This is the art of studying moods. This is for teachers. When your kids are tired, get them moving. Maybe like do some jumping jacks or something. Get their minds awake and stuff. But if they're already working and their minds are going, which is basically never, just leave them alone. Chapter 8 is all about variation of tactics. Now, I'm not exactly sure in general how to connect this one to high school, but I'm sure we'll get into it as we get in. In war, the general receives his commands from the sovereign, collects his army, and concentrates his forces. Again, as is a reoccurring theme, the general in this case is just going to be it's going to be teachers, I guess. And the sovereign, I guess, is the superintendent or maybe the principal. I don't know. Yeah, that one's just mostly for teachers. When in difficult country, do not encamp. In country where high roads intersect, join hands with your allies. Do not linger in dangerously isolated positions. In hemmed-in situations, you must resort to stratagem. In a desperate position, you must fight. I take this to be, if you don't know something, run away from it. So I guess Sun Tzu is a big fan of procrastination. The general who thoroughly understands the advantages of a company variation and tactics knows how to handle his troops. In this case, the general is not the teacher, it's instead the student, and again, it's about test prep. There are 5 dangerous faults which may affect a general. Recklessness, which leads to destruction. Cowardice, which leads to capture. A hasty temper, which can be provoked by insults. Delicacy of honor, which is sensitive to shame. And over-solicitude for his men, which exposes him to worry and trouble. Just take your time with questions on tests. At some point, it's got to be something different. We come now to the question of encamping the army and observing signs of the enemy. Pass quickly over mountains and keep in the neighborhood of valleys. Now, I take this to mean mountains are obviously the B hallway. You just want to get out of there. It's so crowded all the time. You just get out of there as quickly as you can. And neighborhood and valleys, that's probably the CCA. I don't know, some easy gathering place. Maybe the meeting of all the 4 hallways, you know. Camp in high places facing the sun. Do not climb heights in order to fight. If you want to just feel good about your life in school and have a nice environment, maybe get a class, or maybe go to a class in the H hallway. That'll help out. If you're anxious to fight, you should not go meet an invader near a river in which he has to cross. Stay away from bullies. If they're mean to you, stay away. In crossing salt marshes, your sole concern should be to get over them quickly without any delay. This is the parking lot. I've thought about this one. You have to leave school quickly so that you can get out fast so you're not stuck in traffic. Yeah. There are 4 in dry, level country, take up an easy, accessible position with rising ground to your right and on your rear so that the danger may be in front and the safety lie behind. So much for campaigning in flat country. This is obviously about taking optimal staircase routes. Sometimes it's much easier to go up the stairs and just walk above the hallway. For example, the C hallway, downstairs, constantly crowded. But if you go to the upstairs C hallway, you'll get to wherever you're going pretty much instantly. No one ever goes there. If his place of encampment is easy to access, he is tendering a bait. So maybe it's referring to the fact that all teachers in the H hallway give hard classes. I don't know. I mean, they're pretty easy to get to. Some are seen advancing and some retreating. It is a lure. That's if people are walking out of the class equally as fast as they're going in, you're going to be stuck in that class for a while. So if you're walking in the class and there are still people in there doing work or taking a test, you're in for a rough period. Chapter 11, the 9 situations, which are essentially just varieties of ground again, which we kind of already handled in the previous one. So I'm just going to read them out and it's going to be easy. All right, 11.1, Sun Tzu said, the art of war recognizes 9 varieties of ground. 1, dispersive ground. 2, facile ground. 3, contentious ground. 4, open ground. 5, ground of intersecting highways. 6, serious ground. 7, difficult ground. 8, hemmed in ground. And 9, desperate ground. The only ones you really need to know are dispersive ground and desperate ground. Because when a chieftain is fighting in his own territory, basically whatever you know, it's dispersive ground, so you can do it pretty well. And then desperate ground is if you're on desperate ground, which is someone else's land, or in this case, if you don't know the material for a test, fight and get through it. All right, we're nearing the end. We're in chapter 12, attack by fire, which is pretty simple. It's just the ferocity in which you attack and why you're attacking with fire. There are 5 ways of attacking with fire. The first is to burn soldiers in their camp. The second is to burn stores. The third is to burn baggage trains. And the fourth is to burn arsenals and magazines. The fifth is to hurl dropping fire amongst the enemy. In order to carry out an attack, we must have means available. The material for raising fire should always be kept in readiness. That's pencils and pens. Have a nice pencil pouch, or just if you're really organized, keep one pen for like a long time. I lose my pencil almost daily.